All right. We're going with Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris.
I'll probably go Chuck Norris. Heard some small stories about Bruce Lee, not like just only doing like other stuff, but Chuck Norris actually going in the tournaments and actually fighting. So Chuck Norris.
The feeling of seeing like a body just like drop cold in the mat, it's beautiful. It's just you applying the technique and seeing that it's just one touch. It's just 1 second and the body just drops cold and the person cannot move, you know.
Everybody says, you know, you get your top 5 athletes out there, you know, on the basketball team. You got Barkley, you got Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, all that. Who's your top 5 fighters you walk into anywhere, ain't nobody fucking with, you guys knocking everybody out?
Shit, I got Francis Ngannou. I got Izzy. Okay. I got Demetrius Johnson. And I got Kamaru Usman. Oh, I got one more?
No, you included. You included. So. Nikes or Jordans?
I'll go with Jordans all day. I'm rocking some right now, bro.
What you got on? What you got on? Let's see real quick, man. You got the 13s on? What you got, man? Let's see. He walking into the gym. Retro 5. Yeah, OG, white cement. Take us into the locker room with you. So when you're walking out of there and your name's being announced, what's going through your mind? Are you? Seconds out, MMA Locker Room, Pub Sports Radio. Don't worry about the mother shows. We the best out. You already know, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about coming up this week. We got a stacked UFC card for tomorrow, UFC 295. We got Game Bread MMA going on right now, tonight. My man Curtis Mullender got a fight coming up in about 30 minutes. I mean, with so much to talk about, I just thought it would be live to come back here and give you guys a new live stream. I'm just playing, man. Nah, over here at Seconds Out, I love bringing you guys exclusive fighters that's coming for their fights, literally seconds out. We got a fighter backstage right now. Man, he's going to be making his debut next week on Anthony Pettis' fight promotion out there. So everybody needs to tune into that. For the people that don't know, Anthony Pettis has his own fight promotion he's been doing out there in Milwaukee, putting it on in different states and traveling. He has a lot of up-and-coming fighters coming on there. So those fighters are making transitions to the UFC, as you already seen with a couple of fighters that came through his promotion. So I got somebody backstage that fits that right build. He's going to be making his pro debut this Friday, you know. And on top of it, let's just give him some little accolades, okay? So when I came across this guy, I was watching YouTube predictions and stuff like that about 1.5 years ago, right? And, you know, I seen their video come up. I clicked on it. I pressed play. They were talking about winning big money. And they weren't lying. I could tell by the way in their face. So I started watching it more. And then I started listening. I started saying, hey, is that him? Yep, that's him. The guy who works with Santonio DeFranco, one of the best trainers out there at Fight Ready. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Brandan Olivas is going to be making his debut this Friday. It's only right. Bring him on the Seconds Out.
Hey, what's going on? Actually, it's next Sunday. If it was this Friday, man, I would be very, very overweight, and it would be no good for me. So next Sunday.
Got it. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he did push it. He did have it go on not the Saturday, the Sunday, so that everybody can have that time to watch it. I did make the mistake on that. Sorry about that, though. But
no, totally good. I would be freaking out, man. I'd be like, oh man, it's
So speaking about it, I mean, you say overweight already. So I mean, how's the weight cut going right now and everything like that?
Dude, it's really hard to gauge a weight cut because, you know, my career has been really stretched out. So I've got 10 amateur fights. This is going to be my pro debut. I fought since I was 19. And when I was 19, man, I would skip breakfast and I would make weight. Now my body has grown into, I guess, what you would call a man body. Not really, but, you know, I've grown a lot. So now the process is a lot different, right? It takes me 3-4 weeks to start cutting down the size. According to Santino, I'm right on track, right? So I'm about 140 right now. But it's been tough to get there, right? Running every day, lifting every day, training twice a day. So it's been tough to get my weight down there. And then I got the last, 14, 15 pounds to go to get there. So according to Santino, everything's on track, but it feels like a hurdle.
Got it, man. So with that being said, I mean, you've been always in the gym training, of course, waiting for a fight. Since you got that fight announced to you though, what's changed mentally? Now when you wake up in the morning, now that you know you have a game plan, you have a goal, and you have something to get your mindset to. So what's changed?
Um, Man, really, it's just the mindset. You start thinking really dark thoughts. I don't know how about, how everybody feels when they get a fight, but when you're training, it's just, hey, I'm training, I'm trying to win every session. When you get a fight, you start thinking really dark thoughts, man. The only thing I can think about is this guy's friends and his family are gonna pay to go to Milwaukee. They're gonna sit in the crowd, they're gonna be cheering him on, and then he has to fight me, and I'm gonna take him down and take the life out of his body, and just really, really dark thoughts, and just the embarrassment and the feelings of him afterwards. That's what changes, right? Those kind of thoughts. As far as me, man, I'm ready to go. I'm prepared, but I think that's where it goes. It's less competition and it's more serious now.
Got it. And so for you to switch off to that mode mentally, I mean, that's what I love to hear. And that's crazy that you go into that mode already just in training camp, just when you get your opponent in there. Tell me, have you always been that same way mentally prepped ever since you were getting your first fight, even as an amateur? Is that something that just changed a little bit to where now you take it a little bit more serious?
Well, I think, man, I've been competing a long time. So I started jiu-jitsu when I was 14 years old, and one of my first coaches, half of what he would like teach us and coach us on was the mental aspect of things. So, I like to joke and have fun, and I always mess around. But when it comes, for competition, it's very, very serious for me. So, yeah, that's a mode I've always kind of switched into. It's funny, you even watch me backstage, man. I joke around, I mess with the commission. I'm always telling jokes backstage. It's how I keep myself light and ready for the fight. But the second that we make the walk, right, those dark thoughts come back, and it's like, all right, now it's time to I want to feel when I wrap my arms around his neck, I want to feel the life come out of his body. Every time I punch him, I want to feel it. Yeah, so it's when I make the walk for sure.
That's crazy, man. I got this thing. I usually ask the fighters, like, take me into the locker room with you. Like, when you walk out, like, what's your mind thinking? Or, murder, murder, kill, kill. And that's something I go in with, and they give me the best answers. It's just crazy that you came out with all that, and I didn't even ask that. So it's like, I already know how you think mentality wise going into the fights. Now, let me ask you something about this. Since we're talking about mentality wise, a lot of people say sometimes, it's, let's just say 90% mental and 10% strength. Do you think that relates anything to mixed martial arts or jujitsu?
You're saying like the split between the mental and the physical?
Correct.
I don't think so, man. I think you really have to be prepared physically. I wouldn't say it's a 90-10 split. I think, honestly, it's maybe a 50-50 even, right? There are mentally tough people that are going to push through it and grind, but part of being mentally tough is being physically prepared. I always kind of say it's the three things, right? You have your training, making sure your technique is good. You have your diet, making sure your diet is good, and then your physical condition. And I would say, for most of my camps, most of my fights, I've only hit 2 out of the 3, right? This will be the first time I got all 3, right? My body's in great shape. I'm actually running. I'm physically good. And because I've done that preparation, and because I'm physically good mentally, I know that I'm there, right? Mentally, I know that I can push. I know I have a second gear. I know I've done everything I possibly can to prepare for this fight. So mentally, that helps me even more. So I wouldn't say it's a 90-10 split. I would say it's a 50-50 split, right? Because if you haven't done the physical preparation, I don't care how mentally tough you are, right? You're going to get outmatched. So I think it's a even split there.
Got it. So 7-3 record as the amateur. What made you turn pro at this time? And was it just the opportunity? Was it like what was it that made you know that this was the time it was ready?
I've been ready to go pro for a long time, man. That 7-3 record is a tough one. I have one split decision loss to David Lopez, who is a Cage Warriors guy now, had a great amateur career, and I thought I won the fight. One fight that I lost, I actually had mono in the fight, so I shouldn't have been fighting. I should have been pulled from the fight. Didn't know I was sick. And then my last one, my first loss was to Carlos Hernandez, who we see in the UFC now. And he beat me fair and square, no excuse. He had 13 fights and I had one fight, so a little quick for me there. I think I've been ready to go pro for a long time, and I actually took a long time off. I have a really bad hand. I can't open my hand. Right? extreme nerve damage in my whole arm and hand. And it's something that people really don't know about. So I actually took 3 years off of competition and fighting. And really, I was training maybe once a month. So when I came back, then it was kind of time to get the weight chiseled back down. And then I had one more amateur fight against the #1 kid in the state. And he was undefeated, 5-0. I beat him in his hometown by split decision in a tough, gritty fight. And then it was just basically like, hey, when can I get back to this? I left my job and now I got free time, man. So it's time to make the dream come true. The things that I always envisioned for myself as a 14-year-old when I just started.
Yeah, no, speaking about that last fight, yeah, man, that first round was kind of crazy. You guys was going back and forth in it. Speaking about your earlier career, though, let me just ask this. You got your first win, then you got 2 losses. Coming off of 2 losses like that early on in your career, was there any point right then to where you kind of questioned it, or you just knew already, like, all right, I know I'm in the right path, and like you said, you believe you won one of those fights, but to start a career for me, sometimes as an amateur, some people might question themselves at that point, because sometimes in the amateurs, they start off real high. They go 5-0, 4-0, and they think they're the best, and then they want to go turn pro after like 6-0. So coming off and being 1-2, did you ever question yourself?
Oh man, 100%. It's actually funny that you say that because, now my record looks fine, right? 7-3 is not a bad amateur record, but starting off 1-2, man, it's like the worst feeling in the world. You feel like, what the hell am I doing? I left jiu-jitsu where I was ranked #1 in the world at the time. And I just taken a bronze medal 10 days after I got my purple belt. Right. And I just been used to being successful. I never really lost in jiu-jitsu to going 1-2 in the thing that I switched over for. And I gave everything for. I guess in my mind, I was like, hey, listen, I'm still in the room with all these guys that are in the UFC that are professional fighters. I'm doing well against them. One of those fights I felt like I won, and the other fight was against the reigning amateur world champion. So I can't take it too hard. And if this is something that I want to do, luckily it's amateurs and I can keep going. I can push past it and rack up some wins. Right. And then the next few fights were pretty easy for me. It was mostly just getting comfortable, getting back in there. But yeah, you're 100% right, man. There's times where you doubt everything. 1-2 as an amateur, when I'm taping fights and predicting fights, when I see a guy go 1-2 in amateurs, I'm like, man, this guy, find a new career, find something else to do. So for me to be there was tough for sure.
Yeah, no, because we always come across your name sometimes when we're researching other fighters, and they say, "Oh, he fought Brandan Olivas as an amateur, right?" And to be honest, when I seen that you were making your pro debut on Anthony Pettis' fight, I was like, "Wait, pro debut?" I'm like, I thought he was pro already, and I thought that was the 7-3 pro record or something, So like you said, I think a lot of people just don't know, taking 3 years off, recovering from an injury, getting well and doing stuff like that, to where if you didn't have those 3 years off, would have turned pro a lot quicker and stuff like that. But yeah, it threw me for a loophole a little bit, because I was like, wait, he's making his pro debut. I was like, I was just at UNF 2 months ago watching these amateur guys walking around with the belt, and the amateurs are they're so cool though, man. The amateurs get the belt. They walk around the whole event like they own the place. You know what I mean? It's like the swag, the confidence that they get after they get those belts in those amateur promotions. It's great for the people. I love seeing it. But yeah, just yeah. But were you able to get any of those amateur belts?
Yeah, I got 2 amateur belts. So I fought for the EAFL, which actually I think is the UNF thing too. I think they're combined, maybe. So I fought for the national title there. I won one against Alex Rago, who ended up winning the Fury amateur title as well. And then I won the last fight for just like the local promotion, the Rise of the Prospect. But what's funny about that is I've never been one for second place, and I've never won one for minuscule achievements. So I got the belt. I took a couple cool pictures with it, and then I threw it aside. I think it's in my garage somewhere, because I'm not in this for amateur belts, but I know what you mean, man. It's like the most crowning achievement of an amateur's career, and you want to walk around and show everybody it's super cool. But for me, that was like, hey, I'm more proud of that. I beat the guy that I beat, and now we can go to the pros.
Got it. All right. So let's talk about why you're actually in this. So you come from jiu-jitsu. Now you're doing all full-blown MMA. Why not just go all blown in jiu-jitsu and just see what you can get out with that? What made you transfer over to MMA?
Yeah, that's a really good question, man. So, like I said, when I was competing, I was ranked number 1 in the world at blue belt. I had won Pan Ams. I'd won every local tournament. I had accumulated enough points. I was ahead of Gabriel Souza, who just took he just took silver at ADCC. So I was definitely high level. You know, half the guys I beat are high level black belts now. Um, Honestly, for me, it came down to I would watch the UFC all the time, and Charles Oliveira was always my guy because I was like, man, his name is so close to my name. You know, Oliveira and Olivas. He's a jiu-jitsu guy that does really good Muay Thai, and I always wanted to mimic my fight style like him. I remember actually it was 2015. Yeah, I think 2015. It's when Conor McGregor fought Chad Mendes, and we were in Vegas, and they ran a tournament there, and it was the IBJJF Nationals. And I remember double golding. I barely even trained jiu-jitsu because I had started, you know, fighting MMA and training and learning stuff. So I'd barely even been training for it. And I remember double golding, and it was so easy for me. I actually submitted Conor McGregor's photographer in about like 2 minutes or something, and it was really cool. And I got my hand raised. And the reason that I knew I wanted to switch over is because I got my hand raised. And usually that's the greatest feeling in the world, right? You win a match and you just feel that it's everything, man. That's the whole reason that we do this. It's not, you know, to learn self-defense. I don't care about that stuff. It's that feeling that you get when you get your hand raised. And they raised my hand at nationals. I double golded again, and I didn't feel anything. And it was scary for me. And I said, all right, well, then I need to take the next step. For me, it's time to move over to something that's going to give me that feeling again. And MMA for me, man, is terrifying. It's terrifying to get your hands wrapped. It's terrifying to be in your underwear in front of everybody. It's terrifying to get in the cage and then they say, let's go. And then it's, man, all of that to get your hand raised. That's the feeling that's just unmatched. So it's for me always chasing that feeling, specifically that feeling, because it's very rare.
Man, that feeling that you just explained kind of relates to gambling people that win a lot and lose a lot. It seems like me, when I win a bet, I can still get happy. I mean, I'm happy I won the bet that, hey, I said this team or this pick was going to win. I'm more happy at that to think that I'm right, right? And, you know, the money makes it better. But I've been around other people to where they win a bet, they don't show no emotion or emotion if they lose a bet. And they tell me, like, when I still celebrate, they're like, oh, you still, you know, you still got it. And I'm like, yeah, that's that. I can still raise my hand and I can still feel that right there compared to these other people. They're just like, and they need to do something else to where they feel, all right, man, I just, you know, I got that feeling again. What'd you do? I just won $80,000 by doing this or something. You know, it seems like the same kind of emptiness and feeling. Dang. So that's why you compete. And that's what you're chasing. All right, that's cool, man. All right, so let's talk about some things, man. Talk about your coach, talk about your team, talk about why he made you pretty much his pupil, I'll say. Listening to, you know, commentators when they talk about Santonio DeFranco's relationship with you, they literally relate it to like a pupil, and they say, you know, it's one of those things to where he took him under the wing. He doesn't take a lot of fighters like that. It seems like he's grown a habit to you. So tell me about the relationship you got with your coach and your team.
Yeah, that's it's funny. So actually, when I was competing jiu-jitsu, I had met a guy named Joe Gomez, and he was just a jiu-jitsu guy primarily at the time. And he was training at what's called Siege MMA. And I remember him talking to me, and he goes, hey, if you're thinking about getting into MMA, I fight. And we have a coach over here. His name's Santino DeFranco. He's okay. I remember him telling me that. He goes, he's okay. And he's like, you should come check it out sometime. And so me and Joe were good enough friends where one day I was like, all right, let me go check it out. And it's just funny in retrospect, you know, someone to look at Santino go, man, he's okay. He's okay. Right. So I ended up training there. I was working with Santino for a long time. And I think I told you, like, I just mess around so much. And I think Santino could see something a little different in me. I wasn't like so serious and hard pressed. I was just, I was always messing around. Like, remember one time he was trying to take videos of training and I mooned the camera, and he was like, Matt called me and he's like, I'm going to kill you. Like, I'm literally going to head kick you tomorrow. So maybe enough getting under his skin, and he kind of grew attached to me. Like, this is charming. But, you know, I've been with him one of the longest. So Kamola Kirk, Siege MMA is his gym. So he's been with him the longest. And then I went there. And then actually like a year or two later is when Santino actually moved over to Fight Ready to become the head coach there. So just on time, I've been with Santino the longest. You know, I see him twice a day, right? I'll see him at Fight Ready and I see him at Siege MMA. And Siege is a little smaller group. So it's a lot more intimate. And then, with the gambling stuff and just, I don't have a dad. So, he's kind of been like my father figure. He's the person I look to for advice. When I had no money, I was like, hey, coach, should I buy this car? Like, I don't know if I can afford it. And he's helped me navigate a lot of things, like way more than just fighting. So the relationship's taken a much different path, I guess, than most people, where a lot of the fighters, it's just a coach and fighter relationship. For me now, it's business, it's living situations, it's girlfriends, it's a million different things. But I've been with him the longest, and he got me really early in my career when I was a pure jiu-jitsu guy, and all I did was play guard, and he really molded me. And I would think you could ask him to this day, if there's anyone that trains and rolls the most like Santino, it's me out of anybody, right? I have the closest to his style because he really got to mold me from the time I was 18, 19 years old until, I'm 27 now. So, the training's awesome. Fight Ready is a ton of great guys in one room, and it's really tough training. And Siege MMA, where I technically represent, is a lot more intimate, right? It's a lot more skill building. And I've been training at a boxing gym, and it's been a great camp and great experience, man. I'm very grateful for Santino.
Yeah, man, that relationship kind of sounds like, Sean O'Malley's relationship with Tim Welch out there. It just so happens that you guys both in that Arizona area out there, so yeah, so that's a cool ass experience right there.
What's funny, man, I'm going tomorrow to do a podcast over at Tim's place. I just I do my recovery at his place, and I'm going to do a podcast there tomorrow.
Yeah, it reminds me of something like that, the same way, you just see two guys, but I see them and they're smoking and getting high and playing video games. So I can relate to that out here in California a lot, so, but I mean, yeah, it's cool to see that, man. But on the side note, how is it to be around all these UFC fighters, PFL fighters, Bellator fighters? I mean, on the daily basis, you're like rolling with them, in the gym with them, side to side with them. So how does that, like, how is it being around them every single day compared to these other fighters that used to training out in somewhere to where they might only have two fighters that even train in their gyms, and they're just up and coming fighters?
Yeah, I think we're maybe me personally, I'm a bit jaded. When I started in this, right, at Siege, we didn't have any UFC fighters. We had really tough guys that were really good for me at the time because I wasn't very good. And then when Santino went to Fight Ready, now, I show up to the gym and there's Henry Cejudo and Frankie Saenz and Ramon Salazar and all these guys that are in the UFC. And then the lab guys come over, and now we have, people in Bellator, PFL. For me now, it's just normal, right? It's just something that I've always known and I've always grown up with. Looking at my opponent's Facebook, right? He goes, sparring day, and it's two kids that are like still in high school. That's who he's sparring with. And no hate, man. He lives in Iowa. Like, who's in Iowa?
Who's gonna Yeah.
Yeah. For me, Santino will call me up on a Saturday and go, hey, do you want to train with the Mongolians? And so I'm in there with Ichilang Aori, AQ, and Haley Alatang.
Yeah.
That's so it's a big difference, man. And that's the grindhouse guys that are going for contender series. I worked with Julia Budd a few weeks ago, helping her get ready for PFL. So, it's something maybe I take for granted, but these are all just people. And I know my skills are up there with all of them too. So, it's great training. It's great to be around those guys and people that have that experience. It's very helpful.
Let me ask you something. It's something that I always ask a lot of fighters, it seems like certain fighters that's good at one thing, they always just go to the gym and practice on that. And their weaknesses, sometimes they don't. Like, let's just say if my boy struggles with takedown defense, you would think like, okay, he's in the UFC now. He's going to work on takedown defense for the next 6 months. He's going to drill this instead of doing that hour of striking that he's great at kickboxing. Now he's going to do an hour of takedown defense and wrestling. It seems like a lot of fighters don't work on their weaknesses, even though they know what they are, and they just work on what they're great at in the gym. Same with jiu-jitsu players. If they're great at jiu-jitsu, 9 times out of 10 in the gym, what they're going to do, they're going to be rolling for hours and hours compared to they know that they need to work on their striking. How do you feel about fighters? Do you feel that enough fighters, just favor their tools and don't work on their weaknesses, or what do you think?
Well, a lot of that comes down to coaching, right? So, I mean, you go to a traditional Fight Ready practice, the coaches are going to run you through what they're doing today, right? So if you're bad at wrestling in today's wrestling practice, you're going to work on it. You don't have a choice. If you're bad at striking in today's striking day, you don't really have a choice. But I totally understand what you mean. And I think it's an insecurity, right? And I don't even think that just, it's just with fighting. That's with everything in general, right? People are really scared to suck at something. really scared to suck at something. And I know even me, it's the same way, right? My hands have always been kind of my weak point, right? I'm a pretty good kicker. My wrestling is really good, right? I've taken down every opponent, no issue. I've taken down a lot of guys. My takedown defense, when I actually want to, very good. And obviously jiu-jitsu is where I've come from. So, you know, even Wednesday was my last sparring and I went to a boxing gym. I'm terrified to box, man. That's literally, I'm putting myself in the one place where I'm the weakest. I can only use hands. I can't wrestle if I get in trouble, and I can't throw kicks if I get in trouble. So, and it's terrifying, man. I can feel my heartbeat. I get tired quicker because I'm so nervous and I'm worried, right? I think a lot of fighters are insecure, and that's part of the reason that we are fighters, because we are insecure, and they're worried to show that insecurity. People are worried to suck, man. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Alex Hormozy, that big bodybuilder guy, he's worth a couple $100 million. He goes, you know, you got to suck at something for 100 days and then you're going to be good at it. But people are really afraid to suck. And that's definitely an issue for sure.
Got it, man. We're going to wrap this up in a few moments. Just got a few more questions for you. One thing is this, man. Some fighters, you know, they take fights to make money, you know, because they need to survive, to better their future. Seems like you're coming in the fight game already with like more money and you made off betting on MMA than fighters made fighting for 2 years in the UFC. The average fighter gets paid $12,000 to show up, $12,000 to win when you come in, and they bump it up to 18 and stuff like that after you sign and win more and stuff like that. And you know, the better fighters get about 40 when they show, 40 when they win, clearing about 80,000. Not bad. That's on your second contract. But how is it to already come into MMA and be good enough to where it's like, hey, I don't need to fight to live. I'm trying to fight to be the best.
It's worse, man. It's a lot worse. You know, I'm a big Jay-Z guy, and I love this line. He's like, you know, we had more fun when we were pissed poor, pissed off. And that's kind of the truth. Like when you have nothing and you feel like that's your only way out, that's it. When I was 19, 20 years old, I worked serving jobs, you know, so I could fight and train. And I was just convinced. I was like, hey, I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to school to be a lawyer. I don't come from a rich family. I don't have a family business that I can rely on. I'm not a trust fund baby. My only way to get out of, you know, an apartment, to build a life for myself, is to fight. Right. And so now that I've had life experience, I worked a really good sales job for a long time. I made a ton of money gambling last year. Right. Beautiful house. Right. Which is nice. Right. And they say you sleep in the silk sheets. To get done in this interview and go for a run and go for a lift and go sit in the sauna, it's hard, man. It's definitely a lot harder.
It's hard.
Because there was actually a time actually a little earlier this year where I was like, hey, I think I'm done altogether. I think I'm done fighting. I'm not kidding. I was like, hey, I gave my life to this. You know, I don't have a hand. I got messed up ears. My body's going to hurt for the rest of my life. Like, I'm done. I don't need to do this anymore. And I think it took a really traumatic situation with a girl that tried to really ruin my life for me to go like, why do I need to quit? You know, I know my friend Kamwela Kirk just got cut from the UFC. And then Amir Albazi actually came to train with us. And I did really well with him, like fresh off a vacation, just grappling wise. And I remember Kamwela called me and he goes, hey, Santino just told me like how you did with Amir Albazi. You know, he's like number 2 in the world. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, dude, why would you ever quit? You know, why would you stop this now? That doesn't even make any sense, dude. You haven't even started yet. When you're 40, you're going to hate yourself for quitting now. So for me, honestly, it's just about, you know, I think we have one chance at this life, and I don't want to hate myself as a 40-year-old. I'm so much about legacy and achievement and goals and everything like that. Money can always be made, but, you know, I'm only going to be 27 once. I've wasted so much time as it is. You know, I need to do this for me. And that makes things a lot easier, right? That makes it a little easier to go for the run and to jump back in this game and show what I'm made of.
I mean, also too, I mean, it's kind of like you want to show everybody your skills. I mean, you gotta think about it. All the years, you know, your coach put in with you and stuff, you know, you kind of want to show everybody like, all right, let me show what I'm worth. And you're breaking down all these fight tapes and you're seeing people where it's like, he's really not that good. I know he's not that good, right? So you're like, if he can do this, I know I can do this. So I mean, it got to give you that push too to do it more. But no, that's
I thought you meant like the viewers like saying that about me, because that's a thing too, right? And that's kind of the part that hurts my feelings is like, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. I've been very successful every time I have done it. And, we have the viewers that always look at me and they kind of think of me as like a second-rate fighter and like, oh, this guy sucks and he talks a big game, but he really sucks, which puts a lot more pressure on me, man. I won a split decision in my last fight and Santino pulled me aside and goes, dude, thank God that went your way. Can you imagine what people will say to you if you had lost that amateur fight? So it's definitely a lot more pressure, right? Because I know what I am and I know how good I am and how good I can be. But now I have a lot more eyes because I'm in the public eye for something completely different than fighting, right? Just for podcasting and talking shit. So it's a little more pressure for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Hey, definitely, man. All right, so let's talk about your opponent coming up. Let's talk about how this fight got booked. What made you go with Anthony Pettis fight promotion, and what should we expect this Sunday in Milwaukee?
Yeah, next Sunday. So
next Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, so Christian Rodriguez is one of my best friends. I was considering signing with a few different management companies. He went back to Milwaukee after I trained with him, and I think he told him like, "Hey, this kid's good, so you guys should look at signing him." Next day, I got a call from Dame. He said, "Hey, let's get you signed." And then I had broke my ankle actually, so I was on the shelf for a little while. I couldn't walk. It took me 8 months to heal up from this ankle injury. Then one day I was good. So I hit him up and I said, hey, I'm ready to start looking at fights. And, the first fights that he was looking for, dude, it's all top talent. And, I study fights all the time. I'm like, man, none of these other guys are fighting the best guys in the country, pro debut, first fight back. So I said, what's going on, man? Like, why can't I get, my feet wet? Why can't I just get a normal guy? So I said, hey, I'll pay for my flights. I'll pay for the stuff. Just get me a fight on APFC. Let me be the guy. Let me be the guy that, comes in and wins. So I was going to fight this guy, Bauman, something like that. Little tiny guy. I would have killed him. He pulled out. So I got a last minute replacement. JJ Redmond, thank you for taking the fight. Much different fight, right? Bauman was about 5'4". This guy's 5'10", maybe 6 feet tall. Very different. Right. And the length has always been a problem for me. It's something I struggled with. The shorter guys are way easier for me. So this would be a good challenge. And it's something that I'm up to. We were actually looking at a few different options for fights. I was going to take possibly a short notice fight at 135 this weekend. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad we're still on APFC. Can't wait to show out, fight on Fight Pass. It's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And it's on the main card too, folks, man. So you guys, all you got to do is turn on the Fight Pass next Sunday, not this Sunday. And watch them, man. And they're not going to have anything else going on. I think that was a smart thing that Pettis did too. With going with UFC Fight Pass and having Dana, put out the promotion. He's like, all right, man, I'm going to put this out on Sunday. Sunday is when, some other promotions do their fights like Fury and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's a perfect day to have all the eyes on them and everything. Yeah, man, we got a lot of people in the chat right now giving you some little love in there. Just let's talk about one thing before we end it, man. When you're watching fight prediction video, when you're watching doing fight predictions, right, and they're talking about throwing a jab or committing to submission, how does it make you feel knowing that person never threw a punch in their life or never fought, but yet they're telling these other people this is the wrong way or this is the right way?
Well, okay, I used to feel a couple ways about it. So when I first started this, we're actually next month will be 2 years. Santino and I have been doing the podcast, which, man, that feels like it just flew by. It used to piss me off, right? I used to be like, fuck these guys. They don't know anything what they're talking about, man. They don't know what they're saying. I know. I'm a fighter. Santino's a fighter. While I think that's true, I still think you can understand and have a knowledge for the game, and you can definitely know what you're talking about. Now, I guess, how do I put it like this? My girlfriend plays guitar, right? And she's trying to tell me like, hey, listen, a lot of people will just start pressing the things and you just play the guitar. And I said, well, you got to tune the guitar. And she goes, well, nobody ever asks like how you tune a guitar when you first start. That's something you pick up later on. And I said, I need to know all the way around this. Why is this way? Why does the sound this way? Why do these two strings sound the same, even though they sound differently, right? I try to know everything about it. So, while I can watch these prediction videos and I hear them say, hey, this guy's really good with the jab and he's got good takedown defense, but why? why. Like that's the one part that they're missing, and that's the part they'll never complete, is the full picture of why these people do these things, why they cut off the cage here, why this distance is this way. It's the little intricacies. So I think in general, I don't watch prediction videos because that reason. It's like I already know what I'm talking about. I don't need to watch somebody else. I know what I've acquired from the film. I think people can give a really good general overview. Like, I'm not a hater anymore. Like, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. Like, screw these guys. They put the time in, they watch the film, they know what they're talking about. A lot of times these guys do it better than me. I think we had somebody in the chat, Big Bird. He learned how to watch film, and he's just as good, if not better than I am. The little intricacies is what's going to set people apart. Knowing how to cut weight and what factors do and don't play into a fight. All that stuff, I think, makes a huge difference. But as far as that goes, like, if people like the content and it entertains them, and they find some kind of success with it, right? They're gambling and the people end up being right. No hate, man. It is what it is. I don't need to hate on them or say, screw that podcast. They don't know what they're talking about. It's entertainment at the end of the day.
Got it, man. Last thing I like to know, man. So you're fighting at bantamweight. Is that going to be correct on this one?
Flyweight.
Flyweight. Got it. Okay. Oh, wow. Wow. All right. So yeah, let me pose this in the right wording, man. A guy in your position, your size, with all the training and all the skill, if you came across somebody in the regular streets, right, and he's like 205, 5'9", 5'10", are you automatically assume I'm going to kill and whoop this guy's ass automatically, right? Because I train. It doesn't matter that this guy has about 80 or 60 different pounds on me, or he's bigger than me, right? Being a fighter, right?
Not me, man. I'm way different, man. I carry a gun. I know my place, man. I know my role. My style. I'm an athlete. I'm not a fighter, and I think there's a very big difference. I'm a competitor, not a fighter, I guess I should say. Right? I'm not looking for fights in the streets and going toe to toe with these huge guys. I fight in a weight class sport for a reason. So for me, I would avoid trouble. If worse came to worse and we had to go at it, like life or death situation, for sure. But dude, I try to avoid trouble, carry a gun, make sure I'm good to go. I know my role. I'm a small guy.
Got it. Yeah, no, I got a lot of people that answer and they just say, yeah, man, the size don't matter usually. They're like, I know I can do this to a guy twice my size. So, that's why. That's why I'm like, oh, all right.
I mean, maybe, man. Like, we all have egos and stuff. Like in the gym, because I'm small, most people when they're new, they ask to roll with me because I'm brown belt and I'm small. So they're like, yeah, if I can beat him, and I'm sure I can, I'll have status. And then I just try to murder them. Like, I just go out and I kill them. But I don't have I hate myself enough as it is, man. So I'm not looking for trouble in the streets.
Got it, man. No, man. I just wanted to give you this time right now. If you have any sponsors or you want to just shout out your gym, any coaches, anybody that's been training with you that doesn't get any recognition right now, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, just Siege MMA, man. They have been so good to me since I started. Family gym, Kamola Kirk, the whole family. Santino, obviously, he's like my dad. Guys, look up Santino DeFranco on YouTube. We run a prediction show. I think that's why we're here and I'm on. Yeah, man, I think that's it. Just the guys helping me get there. Christian Rodriguez, Kamola Kirk. Yeah, they're all going to be in my corner. I'm super excited.
Got it, man. So you guys all need to tune in. It's going down next Sunday on UFC Fight Pass. Tune on in. He's fighting on the main card, making his pro debut. Everybody in the MMA world is going to be watching. So, man, hopefully you guys are there too soon. Hey, before we go, what's the lock for tomorrow?
Dern Moneyline, McKenzie. Gotta be.
Yeah, that's not a bad look either. That's not a bad
Heard
look.
too many training room stories from this camp on Andrade. I like McKenzie.
Let's go. You heard it here first, man. All right, you guys. MMA Locker Room here. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be giving you guys the best UFC live stream over here with all the boys here at Pop Sports Radio. Until then, we'll see you guys next week. Seconds out. Don't worry about the mother shows. MMA Locker Room, Pop Sports Radio. We the best out.